The Mavericks roll into the Windy City looking for a win to finish up their 3-game road trip. We'll get you ready for tonight's game coming up next on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Welcome into the DLLS Mavs pregame show live at our DLLS Sports Studios. Kevin Gray alongside our DLLS Mavs beat writer Ron Harrod Jr. and our DLLS Mavs analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys, coming your favorite team as they finish up their 3-game road trip in the Windy City in Chicago. We'll get you ready for tonight's game over the course of the next half hour. Coming up in 14 minutes, we'll be joined by our national NBA insider Mark Stein live from the across the pond to give us the latest when it comes to Anthony Davis and the Dallas Mavericks and much more on this sensational Saturday evening. Ron Harrod Jr., how are we feeling?
Feeling good. I had me a nice cup of Joe, and now I'm pretty juiced.
Carella, what's going on?
You look very cozy. It's cold outside. If you're not in Dallas, it actually got kind of cold again.
And now I'm a full sweatsuit, feeling toasty. Sometimes it's cold in the studio. I never know what to...
Yeah, it'll probably get pretty cold tonight if I had to guess.
Tanner, how we doing?
I'm excited though. Watch along. I'm fired up.
Fired up?
I'm great.
Fired up.
Yeah, we had a great emergency pod yesterday.
Was it great?
Whole lot of fun.
It was a good pod.
It was good podding.
Good pod.
Yes, good podding.
Thank you all for tuning in.
Vibes only.
That's right.
Just
That's
tons
right.
of positivity.
And yes, as the gentleman mentioned, we are having our watch along tonight. So once we are done with our pregame show here, hop out, then hop back in with us on DLLS Sports. We'll begin our DLLS Mavs Bulls watch along at around 7:05. Shout out to our CHGO folks. It's an all-city matchup tonight, DLLS versus CHGO. So shout out to our CHGO folks who are having their pregame show right as we speak as well. Let's get you ready for tonight's game. It is game number, 39 on the season. We are nearly halfway through the regular season for your Dallas Mavericks as they're 14-24, 4-13 away from the American Airlines Center, taking on a Chicago Bulls team 17-20 on the season, 10-9 so far at United Center, especially when there's no condensation on the floor. The Bulls are 2.5-point favorite tonight with the over-under at 234.5. You can watch tonight's game on KFAA Channel 29 if you're in the local area, or on NBA TV if you are out of market. Where these teams are coming into tonight, Dallas, of course, 12th in the Western Conference, sitting what is a full 2 games behind the Grizzlies for the 10th seed and final play-in spot in the Western Conference. Of course, the Mavericks coming off their road loss on Thursday night to the Utah Jazz in what was a disappointing night in a number of ways. Not only did the Mavericks lose, snapping what was their 2-game winning streak, but of course they lost Anthony Davis, who we've now learned will be out indefinitely with that left hand injury. Overall, the Mavericks is 3-7 in their last 10 games, and of course just 6-7 this season against teams against the Eastern Conference, I should say, but they are 7-11 against teams below 500 this year. 1-1 on their current 3-game road trip, which will finish up tonight in Chicago before they come back on Monday to begin a 4-game homestand that will begin with the Brooklyn Nets. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bulls, 10th in the East, familiar spot for them over the last 4 or 5 years. They sit a half game behind the Hawks for the 9th seed in the East right now. Chicago coming off its third straight loss on Wednesday. You say, Kevin, what about the game on Thursday? Well, that game for Chicago was postponed against the Miami Heat because there was condensation on the floor and did not allow the two teams to play in United Center. So the Bulls have actually now been off since Wednesday, since they weren't able to play on the second night of a back-to-back against the Miami Heat. So far this year, they are 7-11 against teams below 500. 4-6 against the West, and 8-10 against teams below 500. Bulls 5-5 overall in their last 10 games, with their next game coming on Tuesday on the road against the Houston Rockets. Let's get to a super chat that we got already. This coming from Ozzy D.
Big Ozzy.
Just back from vacation. Excited to see AD and Coop.
Oh,
Ozzy, I hope you're sitting down. I have bad news for you. Ooh, we finally got the chat up. It was like betraying you real quick.
Over here, okay?
No, that came across very sassy. I'm sorry. I saw you clicking it.
I know you didn't.
I saw you clicking the button and nothing was happening, and I was trying to stall for time. Ozzy, I regret to inform you, the Mavs actually traded Cooper Flagg. He's not on the team anymore. Defense wins championships. AD is going to be out there though, anchoring the defense tonight.
Not funny.
we have yet to get
the Curl Straight scouting report. What we got?
The Bulls are a pretty small team, which is weird because they're actually 3rd or 4th in defensive rebound rate. I think it's like a tie.
Really?
So you can resort the list over and over again. Yeah, they rebound 71% of available misses, which is interesting because the Mavs have played some teams like Sacramento. They played recently. And they just bullied them, especially in the fourth quarter on the glass because they're positionally very small. Now, the Bulls have some guys that are tall, like Pat Williams, Montas Buzelis. Like, they're like 6'8", 6'9", but they're kind of skinny. So you'd figure a guy like Coop or even Najee that might not be as tall or might be just as tall. Just they got a little more girth, right? They're just stronger than them. Obviously, Daniel Gafford is going to be stronger and I think taller too than Vooch. How tall is Vooch?
About 6'9".
Yeah, they're both on your size.
Yeah,
6'8", 6'9".
Yeah, so the Bulls play a lot of guards. Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, like they're just kind of small team.
They
but
play
they still
Ayo
get
at
a lot of
small
rebounds. Yeah. Now, one way that the Bulls will combat their own lack of size, despite rebounding pretty well, is by playing some zone. They've played zone. Let me sort my chances here. 9th most possessions in the NBA, and they actually defend it really well. Teams are only scoring 0.992 points per possession against them, so that's less than 1 point per possession. Which is by far the best of any team that actually plays zone. Like, number 1 in the league this year is Detroit, that's played zone twice. Number 2 is Memphis, that's played zone once. So that's like the company that the Bulls are in. And that is interesting to me because the Mavs have played against zone quite a bit. The Mavs have this perceived and real lack of shooting on their team. And so teams will just allow those guys like Najee, PJ to just, fire away from 3. And the Mavs have scored around league average against zone. So it wouldn't surprise me if Chicago sits in a zone quite a bit tonight against Dallas. But we'll see, I guess. I mean, I guess I would be more worried, or not worried even, because canonically, I think I have said enough times I want the Mavs to lose every game, basically, for their own pick. But, Kobe White, Dosunmu, like these guys get up and down the floor fast. Like they will run, top 5 team in pace. And the Mavs struggle against teams with fast guards. So I think it could be if it gets to be a windshield wiper game, then it could be spooky.
Yeah, I guess to add on to some stuff Bobby said, just some numbers as we like to give in this podcast for you all. So just in some accuracy, like how good are these teams, like just putting the ball in the basket. At the rim, the Chicago offense is 29th in the NBA. They only make 62% of their rim attempts. They are pretty good at like all threes. Like they shoot the ball from 3 relatively well. They're 13th in the NBA, at least according to this, to clean the glass. But the Mavs actually are the number 1 defense in guarding 3-pointers. They only allowed 33.2% of 3-pointers this season. So when a team is really good at shooting threes and a team is really good at defending threes, it kind of like something has to give there. So if the Mavs can stop Chicago from making threes and they're still really small, they can possibly give them an advantage because, as we said earlier, they do not finish well at the rim just because they don't really have like a crazy athletic player in the starting lineup, really, and that can hurt your rim, field goal percentage.
I guess it's our lead story going into tonight's game, and it's the next man up mentality once again for this Dallas Mavericks team. Of course, Anthony Davis, who was lost on Thursday night indefinitely with a left hand injury, suffering ligament damage in that left hand. We will find out whether or not he will need surgery after he gets multiple opinions on whether or not he will either sit out the next 6-7 weeks to allow the hand to heal without surgery, or if he has surgery, that will end his 25-26 campaign. Meanwhile, for the Mavericks, you look around, PJ Washington going to be out tonight for his 3rd straight game with right ankle sprain. Brandon Williams out tonight with illness. So the supporting cast around Cooper Flagg is going to have to show up big tonight. I'm talking about Max Christie. I'm talking about Daniel Gafford and others to be able to help support a rookie in Cooper Flagg who has been fantastic so far this year. And the number one thing going forward for this team will be the development night in and night out of the 19-year-old prodigy, of course, out of Duke, where you look at some of the numbers for him throughout the course of the year. Eye-popping numbers for the 19-year-old, including the fact he's got 9 games this season already of at least 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, the 4th most among all teenagers all time in NBA history. Just dizzying numbers for Cooper Flagg.
Right behind Ron's favorite player.
That's right. Behind LeBron James.
No, LaMelo. Right
LaMelo. I'm sorry. Yes.
Man,
got quite a ways to go before he
That's
catches,
like a bunch of my favorite players.
The chosen one. But yes, that's a who's who of Ron's favorite player list at this particular
I'm a sad
point.
man.
Bulls going to be led by Kobe White. Bobby started to mention how fast he plays, averaging over 18 points per game and giving the Bulls nearly 5 assists per contest in 17 games. And Nikola Vucevic, man in the middle for Chicago, averaging 16.5 points per game and over 9 rebounds per contest in 36 games so far this year. Mavericks, of course, going to be led by the rookie sensation Cooper Flagg, as you see in his last 9 games, putting in work, averaging over 20 points per game, giving over 7 rebounds per contest, and giving nearly 7 assists per contest as well, while that three-point percentage continues to go up, shooting nearly 43% from downtown. He's going to have some help tonight from a guy in Max Christie, top 5 three-point shooter in the NBA so far this year. By the way, Cooper Flagg, 9 straight games of at least 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, which is the longest streak for a rookie in Mavericks history. So, again, just some more numbers to give you an idea on how well Cooper Flagg has been performing so far this year. The statistical profile of the Chicago Bulls reads a little something like this: 23rd in offensive rating, 6th worst defensive rating in the association so far this year. That's 7th worst overall net rating for them. They're fairly consistent in some of their offensive numbers. They're 14th in points per game, 14th in field goal percentage, 14th in three-point percentage, as well as 16th in free throw percentage. Bobby made a note of it just a minute ago as well. One of the best defensive rebounding teams in the NBA. In fact, they are the number 1 defensive rebounding team in the NBA. The team in second, their opponent tonight, the Dallas Mavericks, number 2 as far as defensive rebounding so far this year. That's all in 37 games for Chicago. Meanwhile, the Mavericks and Bulls playing the first of 2 regular season matchups between these two teams. Last season, the Mavericks swept the season series, including what was a 120-119 win last March in Chicago, where Klay Thompson led the Mavericks that day with 20 points in the victory. These two teams will play each other on the final day of the regular season for your Dallas Mavericks here in Dallas. That will take place on April 12th at the AAC. We'll get you ready with more of tonight's game coming up here with our injury report. In fact, let's start it up there real quick, Tanner, before we get to our prize picks from our guy Bobby tonight. We'll start with the home team of the Chicago Bulls. Zach Collins, he's out tonight with a right toe sprain. Noah Essengay, he's out with the left shoulder surgery. Josh Giddey, he continues to remain out with the left hamstring strain. By the way, quick note on Zach Collins, there's no timetable for his return as he continues to deal with that right toe injury. Kevin Huerter, he is available. So is Jalen Smith, who had been dealing with a concussion, but he is available and good to go tonight. Meanwhile, Moussa Cisse, he is going to be available to play tonight, as, of course, the Mavericks are going to be shorthanded in the front court. Anthony Davis, as we mentioned, out. Kyrie Irving continues to working back for that left ACL injury. Miles Kelly is available tonight. In fact, Jason Kidd saying pregame that he's going to see some time tonight on the floor for your Dallas Mavericks. So interested to see how Miles Kelly gets out and performs. PJ Washington out for the 3rd straight game with that right ankle sprain, and Brandon Williams caught illness in Utah and is not going to be able to play tonight for your Mavericks. Coming up here in just a moment, we'll be welcoming in our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, live from England to get us the latest when it comes to Anthony Davis and the Dallas Mavericks. But before we get there, let's help you win some money tonight, courtesy of our guy Bobby Carrillo with Prize
Let's get
Picks.
rich.
It's time. All right. It's the weekend. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to take home some money. Okay. Kobe White, more than 11.5 points. All right. I didn't want to go too big because his last couple of games not been great, but the Mavs struggle sometimes, again, against these electric guards. Kobe White's certainly one of them. Cooper Flagg, more than 11.5 rebounds plus assists. I think without AD, Coop's going to get a lot more rebounds, and he's been getting like 6-7 assists every game lately, so I feel like that's a slam dunk, no pun intended. And Najee Marshall, more than 13.5 points. He has had a couple kind of games lately, but without AD, I think there's going to be a lot more touches for these other guys, and Najee is going to benefit. That $5 lineup would net me $10.50 in winnings if it hits, and I should say win. it hits. If you want to play along, download Prize Picks, use promo code DLLS when placing your first $5 lineup, and your account will be gifted in $50 in lineups to use anytime you like. And Prize Picks, it is good to be right.
It's the DLLS Mavs podcast here, as we are now joined by our national NBA insider. You can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. He, of course, is Mark Stein. Mark, what's going on?
Gents, good evening. Fingers crossed that the technology works across the Atlantic. And I know that the vibes are probably not much better than the connection. But we
you
forge
look
ahead.
good. You look good. The connection is way better than
the
the
connection is much better. Connection is much better.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All right, well, there's something to grasp on.
Well, you look good and sound good. Unfortunately, Anthony Davis's hand is not good, particularly his left hand. Suffering ligament damage on Thursday nights, leaving the fourth quarter against Utah, and we've learned officially from the Mavericks that he will be seeking second opinion when it comes to that hand to determine whether or not he will need surgery. What is the latest from you when it comes to Anthony Davis and the options for him going forward?
I mean, the options for him are surgery or non-surgery. They're going to seek multiple consultations to try to come up with the plan. But look, even with AD's history, this has just been a hellacious run of woes and setbacks. And obviously, this all but rules out a trade between now and the February 5th trade deadline. I mean, the only option I see for the Mavericks and for, extension talks, I don't think we're going to be hearing about that anytime soon. Like, October 1 is almost 9 months away. The Mavs, more than ever, have to spend these 9 months looking at everything with the adductor. I mean, it seems that the eye has not been an issue all season long, but obviously that was a huge scare in the summertime. But now with this hand injury and the great Jeff Stotts from In Street Clothes, I didn't even realize this. You go into Jeff's database and AD's actually had a history of injuries with the left hand on top of the various other ailments he's had to battle through. So, I mean, to me, when it comes to AD, the focus has to be everyone needs to take a serious step back and look at everything that has gone on since he became a Maverick and try to just get on a better course. I mean, I think if we rewind almost a year, I think even he would say now he came back too soon, and that just started a cycle that has, like, again, even with his injury history, it has been hard to believe. And I know everybody is sick about this. It's a crusher. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Like, you're not going to say the silver lining is, because there is no silver lining. But this does force the team, to me, into the clear direction of, if Anthony Davis wants an extension in Dallas or elsewhere, he has to get back on the court and be able to stay on the court. And so the next 8+ months need to be spent getting everything as right as possible, because obviously trading him just got a heck of a lot more complicated. And I know we're going to get into that, but
yeah.
Look,
so Mark, you and I have been I think you and I have been pretty closely aligned on this, whereas KG has been our arch rival and Ron has kind of stayed out of the fray. You have been saying for a while, and I've kind of echoed that as well, that, if the deal with Atlanta was the deal, then it's kind of a meh deal, and there should be like no rush and just going for a trade that would bring back Ricochet and that first-round pick, which was reported. KG, meanwhile, was like, no, if that's the deal, take the deal. Get out of the AD business. I think there were a lot of fans that felt the way that KG did, who now, in the light of the injury, are saying, like, that's exactly why you should have traded him whenever you had the chance. Yeah. Now, did Atlanta ever actually make that offer? Did any team actually make an offer? And I don't mean like a good offer. I mean literally did the Mavs ever have the option to actually trade him? Did that opportunity ever
to my
present itself?
to my knowledge, no. To my knowledge, that nothing ever reached the point of this is an actual bankable offer. You know, I think it's important to note that, and I think I don't want to speak for you, but I hope you agree with me on this. I think the way we've always framed it is we've tried as a group to come up with what would it take for the Mavericks to say yes? What would we want to see on the table from Atlanta or whoever that would make you say yes? And I think hypothetically we talked about, what if it's Risache and a first that's not the New Orleans pick? What if it's just Risache? But again, based on everything I've heard, the Hawks were not willing to put Risache in the deal. So I don't think it ever even got that far. And I think even more importantly, if we're going to laser in on the Hawks, we have to remember the Hawks were not going to trade for AD until they were sure they had a trade for Trae Young. They weren't sure they had a trade for Trae Young until Wednesday, and that deal wasn't actually finalized until Friday after AD sustained the hand injury in Utah. So if we subsequently find out in coming days and weeks that the Mavericks were definitively offered A, B, and C, I think then we look at it in a different light. And then maybe we do have to say, yeah, they should have taken that. But to my knowledge, Atlanta was the most serious, interested suitor. But again, number one for the Hawks was they got to trade Trae Young first. They can't have Trae Young on the books and then take in AD's salary. And then Trae Young says, you know what, I'm opting in. And now our payroll goes through the roof. But the other thing again is, and look, it's believed in some circles that Risache is a guy Atlanta would put into the proverbial right trade. But the Hawks have consistently pushed back behind the scenes and said, we would not have traded Risache in an Anthony Davis deal. So, like, to me, it's a hype. We're getting hung up on a hypothetical. And then Toronto, as I think you guys have discussed, now we don't know the picks, the extent to which Toronto would have been willing to go as far as picks offered, but you are going to have to absorb the contracts of Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett. And given all the contracts the Mavs have that they seemingly can't move, and the financial issues that they have going forward, was that really palatable? So look, I totally get the frustration, because what the frustration, an Anthony Davis trade, I think there's a perception that an Anthony Davis trade at this deadline would have fixed things for the Mavericks. No, what would have fixed things for the Mavericks would have been not making the Luka trade in the first place, which they obviously can't go back and undo. That's this catalyst that put the Mavs in the situation they're in. Now, again, I will be the first to put my hand up and say I'm wrong if we find out in coming days and weeks that there was a, quote, palatable option for the Mavs to take and do. But like I said, I'm just based on the bits and pieces we've heard, like, I don't know. I don't think that offer was on the table for the Mavs at any point since this season started, and even going back to the offseason. In the offseason, AD had to have this eye procedure. Like, he missed so much time last season after becoming a Maverick. Then the eye issue, and then everything that's happened this season. He got hurt in his fifth game of the season, and we all recite the stat he hasn't played more than five games in a row as a Maverick. So it's like, how good were the offers going to be? I don't think there was an offer on the table that was going to be so great that the Mavs had to jump on it. And so that's why now they are forced into this position. They've got to look at everything. And can we get Anthony Davis back to the point that he is a 55 to 60 game regular season player and a guy who can contribute in the playoffs? I mean, that's
not here. Not here. He can't do it here. In my humble opinion, he can't do it here.
But KG, what if there is no trade? What if no trade materializes now? Maybe a trade will materialize, but what if it doesn't? Are you just gonna say, well, it's never gonna work out here? No, you have to try to find a way. because they might not be able to trade him. Maybe they will. Maybe this summer someone's going to say, you know what? We're going to take the risk anyway. But you have to be prepared for every eventuality.
Yeah, if they can't find a trade, then they'll have to work out some kind of Joel Embiid type management plan to get him to a point where he's consistently playing enough games to then move him. The long-term future for me when it comes to Anthony Davis being on the Dallas Mavericks is persona non grata. Like, it can't happen. Give him to a point where he can play consistently enough to get some market value up for him, and then you move him because he's getting too expensive and too old at this point. He'll be 33 in March.
That's the other thing. Look, the finances are a mess. We're all in agreement on that, but they're going to have to figure out other ways to rectify that. Can you trade Daniel Gafford for an expiring somewhere to create some financial relief? You know, we don't know what's going to happen in the offseason when PJ Washington becomes trade eligible. But in the short term, like this team, you know, we've been talking about the tank now for weeks. This team has to lose, this isn't comforting either. I'm not trying to make it sound like I have some 5-point plan that's going to fix anything, because again, things are not good. We're not going to sugarcoat it.
Respect.
And the Mavs now have to rely on lottery luck, which they've had once in the 45-year history of the franchise. Are they going to have lottery luck again? I don't know. If they do, but again, let's pretend they do. Let's pretend the Mavs get, you know, is top 4 too ambitious, a top 8 pick, you know.
Yikes.
And let's say they get a real player in this draft. Now you've got a young core of Coop, whoever you draft, Max Christie, and you still have to get Lively back on track after his now 2 seasons of injury woe. You've got that core of young players. But at that, I mean, I think the likelihood is that AD is going to be on this roster when training camp starts next season.
And I know Mavs fans are not going to want to hear that. I know that.
I mean, hell, I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear that.
I'm not mad at you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you.
What else can they do, though? That's all they can do.
No, I know.
Best case scenario.
That's the peak. That is the unfortunate reality of the.
Yeah. What kind of trade offer? What kind of trade offer is going to materialize in the offseason for a player who will have missed?
I mean, I don't think there will. I don't think
this is where I'm about to tap out. Like, because that right there, that is the whole basis of the argument of why you had to try to find the best deal that you could to get the hell out of this.
There was no deal.
Literally just said there wasn't one. So
I know.
Like, but so then what is the point? You're getting mad at a win, like you're fighting a windmill.
I understand that. Like, the whole hypothetical of why the AD business was a bad one is that they couldn't find one, and now you're stuck with him. So where I'm going
but go ahead.
I was just saying, where I'm going is the best. If you can find one this summer, you take the first one and you move on.
Well, I'm sure they're going to work tirelessly to do that, but
who wants that contract?
Have you ever been driving down the highway in the middle of nowhere and you notice, I'm getting pretty close to E. The next gas station is like 40 miles from now.
Oh, yeah, I just floor it. Keep it going.
I mean, you got to hope you make it there. You got to hope. You got to hope a gas station
Trae Young's contract was only $46 million this season with only 1 year left on it. And you saw what the Hawks did to get off that.
They traded nothing.
They traded the face of the franchise and the second most popular player in franchise history after Dominique Wilkins for CJ McCollum's expiring contract and Corey Kispert's manageable contract.
Yikes.
God, dude.
AD next season makes $58+ million. The season after that, he's got a $63 million option. It's going to be harder.
Every time he says it.
And so it's great to look into a camera and
after
say,
that, he makes $62 million.
Mark, stop saying the contract number.
It's
hurting our feelings.
It's great to pound the table and look into the camera and say, I will stomach this no longer. But I mean, that's not how it works. Like, so
respect.
That's why
Mark,
they
do you
now
think
have
a year ago
they have 8. Go ahead.
A year ago today, if the Lakers would have said, we're accepting trade offers from AD for AD.
They could have got something then.
They could have got something then.
You think
He's playing
so?
well.
Yeah.
He was playing the best of his career.
Like the first 20, 25 games,
he
he was playing at an MVP level.
A year ago, he was having his
sold high.
adductor issues. He was having the adductor issues a year ago at this time, if you remember. Or maybe it was probably a little bit later in January that he was having adductor issues with the Lakers. But he was coming off a season where he played much more, if I remember.
So in one
right.
year, he's gone from like potentially premium trade piece to now.
I mean,
they will be lucky to get expiring contracts for him.
At this point, the Mavs are the dummies that bought on the player having like the best moment.
Yeah,
of
this is we're living
That's
through a
the team that
basketball.
bought high.
This is a crypto rug pull.
No, literally.
Yeah, completely.
Literally. Because Anthony Davis was playing good for 20 games. He's like, oh, little injury. Like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And then, of course, I'm not saying that's the reason why they traded him. Clearly, they got Luka in the trade.
Ronaldo just hit there on another important aspect of this.
Crypto?
It's not that easy to get. AD's salary is so high. Nobody just has $55 million of expiring contracts laying around. Like, even in the Trae Young situation, the Wizards could put $31 million in expiring on the table, but even then they still had to put Kispert's deal in it. The Hawks can trade Porzingis and Kennard, but you still need a pretty substantial salary to go in that trade. Nobody has $60 million in expirings. Like it just,
oh my God.
That's not easy to do. So
let's get to these super chats before we end here.
Yeah, go for it.
Vinny with the.
Is it? By the way, if we need overtime for a pregame, can we do it?
We're already
there. Yeah,
and we have a watch along, so we do need to get through these. But
I
mean, people paid, so we need to honor their.
Vinny with the $5 super chat. Thoughts on LeBron for a Davis swap trade, just purely for expiring contract.
I say Lakers, no chance. Lakers would do that. Optics nightmare trading LeBron.
But bring the GOAT here. I'm not against
the way Lakers fans are acting, they wouldn't mind Anthony Davis.
I think it would be hilarious if they did that.
But like 42-year-old Anthony Davis and Cool would be like.
Shout out to Alan with the John Morant super chat. Thank you.
1999.
Shout out Alan.
Hey Mark, can we get some Ja insights, if any? Nets just announced they are sitting Michael Porter Jr. tomorrow versus the Grizz. No injury, just rest. Money could easily match up.
Ooh,
ew! I'd keep MPJ.
Michael Porter Jr. is a player of high interest. He's had an all-star season. He's making $40 million, but he's now to the end of his contract, so he's much more tradable. The Nets are not lacking for options, and there's just a lot of some people in the league think MPJ will get traded. Some people in the league are adamant that the Nets are going to hold on to him. And you can make the case if you're the Nets that you wait until the offseason, because then you can use him in a package for a star player. Like the Nets are also that's I mean, I hate to say it because I know I'm just going to upset people. Another one of the problems, there are so many tanking teams, and we haven't even begun to see tanking. Wait till the second half of the season. The Jazz have to stay in the top 8. The Wizards have to stay in the top 8. There's so many bad teams already that it's going to, like, everybody knows the top of this draft is stacked. You know, the Nets are dreaming of a top 4 pick. And then what if they hold on to MPJ and then pivot with a trade? So, look, there is a lot of MPJ noise right now. We got to stay on that one because he is very tradable. It's really just up to the Nets. Do they want to do it now or do they want to wait?
Last one, $5 super chat from is this LXS2141?
Lexus.
Okay, cool. AD's injury is why I feel they should have just sat AD until they got a trade on the table, like the Dubs, like the Warriors did with Jonathan Kuminga. Either way, we need to tank.
I would not have minded them sitting him out throughout this whole thing.
That's a criticism that I understand, that people are saying, why did he play so much? But this injury, like, I would have understood that sentiment more if it was another calf injury, if it was an issue with either leg. This thing was, hand injuries are generally freakish. Now, again, Jeff Stotts did show us he has a history of left-hand issues, but, like, that's not the same to me as a lower body injury that you say, it happened again. another adductor strain, another calf strain. Like that's not this kind of injury. And look, I know nothing I say is going to make this any less frustrating. I understand the frustration. I understand the anger. And I just believe it all goes back to, we are nearing the 1-year anniversary of the trade that everyone on this show, everyone watching this show wishes they had a time machine to undo it. And we can't. And that is where the problems really stem from. Not trading AD for an offer that may or may not have happened.
I hate to cut you off, but we appreciate your time as always. It's good to see you. Your connection was fantastic. Thank you for making the time with us as always and your insight. And we look forward to talking to you next week. Safe travels.
All right, guys. Be good.
Appreciate you,
See
boy.
That'll do it for us here on our DLLS Mavs pregame show. Come up here in just a couple moments. We'll have our DLLS Mavs watch along as the Mavericks
Watch
the
along.
Chicago Bulls. Appreciate y'all joining us here on our pregame show. We'll talk to you in a few minutes. Y'all be good.
Come back,
Peace.
please.
We all silly like the mayor.